Welcome back to the Depression Diaries podcast. If this is your first time here, welcome to me publicly overthinking the meaning of life. I hope you're doing well. I'm your host, 5 Milli Tom, and today's episode is all about purpose, which sounds really big and philosophical, but honestly, it's sort of always on my mind and something that I think a lot of depressed people can relate to. And not in the what's my 5-year plan kind of way, more like the what's the actual point of all of this type of way. Why am I doing any of this? Why am I recording this podcast? Why should I get out of bed in the morning? And I want to talk about it. I think for most of my life, I've thought that purpose was supposed to be this huge life altering thing. Like you're supposed to have some massive calling, some deep, profound reason to wake up every day, solve world hunger, cure cancer, become a best selling author, or a famous musician or professional sports player. Leave some kind of a legacy behind. And honestly, part of me still feels that way to an extent. I struggle with the idea that maybe purpose is a lot more subtle than that. I've been thinking about how maybe purpose is just about making your own little corner of the world a little bit better. Maybe it's not about saving the world, it's about making someone laugh, sharing something real, or creating something that adds a little color to an otherwise mundane existence. And honestly, I think that should be enough. But even though I can logically rationalize that, part of me still feels like it's not enough. Like purpose has to be bigger and more important. And I wonder if me trying to create things is just me trying to find my purpose, or hoping that something I make eventually becomes successful. I don't really know why I feel that way, and I don't know if there's anything wrong with it. I just know that it's there. But the logical part of me, the part of my brain that sat down to write this out in a Google Doc, says that purpose doesn't have to be grand. It can actually be broken down into just three simple things. One, doing what makes you feel alive or happy. Two, helping others feel a little more alive or a little less alone or a little more happy. And three, creating things that make the world even slightly more interesting. And right now, that's what I'm trying to do. When I zoom out and ask myself those questions, what makes me feel alive? How can I help others feel a little bit more alive or less alone? And what do I want to create? Really, what I'm asking is what gives my life meaning right now? And I came up with this. First is to create things, streaming, making YouTube videos, recording this podcast, trying to tell a story that someone else might find worth listening to. That gives me something to work on, something to look forward to, something that reminds me I still have ideas that are worth sharing. Second is connection, making people laugh, making people think, helping someone feel less alone in their own mess. That matters to me, even if it's just one person, even if it's just me, honestly. And even though saying this out loud right now feels a little cringe to me, I think deep down I know this to be true. Finally, authenticity. I don't want to fake anything. I don't want to perform some version of myself that feels safer or more acceptable. Whether it's streaming, making content, or talking about mental health, I want to be real. I want to be honest. And most of all, I want to be myself, whatever that looks like that day. And this podcast is an attempt to do that. And maybe that's my purpose, at least right now. Just following whatever excites me, documenting the process, sharing it with people, and seeing what happens. But there's a part of me that still wonders if that's enough. Like, am I really allowed to just wake up and decide that my purpose today is to play video games on the internet or talk about mental health? Is that meaningful enough? Is that valid? And I don't know. Maybe it's not. Or maybe I'm just downplaying it because we're all programmed to think that we need to be successful and amazing at everything. I don't know. I'm not totally sure. So, as I reflect on purpose, part of me still thinks purpose has to be this massive calling, but another part of me thinks our purpose really is as simple as getting through. I have two quotes that have stuck with me over the past number of years, and I want to share both of those with you. The first is a quote I once heard from one of my philosophy professors in college. I don't know where it originates from or if he was quoting another philosopher, but he said, quote, "There is no meaning to life, but there are meaningful lives," unquote. And that one stuck with me. Like, maybe there isn't some grand universal reason for any of us being here, but that doesn't mean we can't create meaning in the little things we do, the conversations we have, the things we make, the people we care about. And it also reminds me of this quote from This Is When I Wish I Had a Perfect French Accent. Damn you, Duolingo, for not perfecting my French accent. Because I wish I could say his name properly, but that's Albert Camus. He once said, quote, "The literal meaning of life is whatever you're doing that prevents you from killing yourself." And I know that sounds dark, but honestly, there's something super raw and true about it. Maybe it's something that only the really depressed can relate to. I think someone like my dad, for example, might not agree with that quote or will fail to understand it, but I think it's worth reflecting on. And for me, that's this podcast, these videos, the streams, the conversations, the stories and the jokes, these moments where I feel like maybe I'm not just wasting time here. So that's what I've been thinking about today. I don't have it all figured out. I probably never will. But for now, this feels like enough of a purpose to keep going. Thank you for listening. And if you're out there questioning what your purpose is, just know maybe it doesn't have to be huge. Maybe it just has to feel real to you right now. All right, go drink some green tea or something. I'm going to go take a nap. Peace out, guys.